Hello and welcome back to the COD Feed, the show where we talk about this weekend's best and worst in the CDL. I'm Scooch.
And I'm John.
And before we continue, don't forget to first of all subscribe. We are at 68 subs. We're one away from 69, guys. Come on. 75% of you
Lucky
are not
number.
subscribed. So, please hit that little subscribe button. Just one of you at least. Please. And also don't forget to like, comment, and share. Anyway, move. I said subscriber, but it doesn't hurt to say it twice or 3 times or 4 times. Subscribe. I don't know. But moving into this weekend's news. First off, Vegas won their first series with 2 real, 3-1 victory to LAT, which is kind of a big thing considering LAT just came in second at the Major 2 major weekend. Grand finals.
Yeah, maybe they proved me wrong. Maybe.
We'll get to that. Their first hardpoint wasn't so good. They had a 250 to 130 loss. Not too surprising considering Vegas is never really good on the respawn. And we'll get into it in their next game. But it seems like they start off bad in their first hardpoint, and then in their second hardpoint, they kind of have it figured out. Kind of weird. 2 real on this first hardpoint had a 0.52 KD. And considering hardpoint is a very KD or, kill, it's like a respawn game, you don't want to see one of your players dropping a 0.52,
Especially a brand new player that they probably brought on for respawns.
I agree. I mean, I think that's what they kind of expected. They thought maybe we get him in. ProLoot was more of an S&D player than he was respawn. He was getting better at the respawn game. In the latter series. But 2 real was brought in, and I think that's kind of what they expected. And I mean, 0.52 is terrible. Moving on to their SND, no surprise, they won. I mean, Las Vegas, even though they aren't one of the best teams in the league, they are definitely the best team at SND. I mean, they're so consistently, winning these SNDs. At this point, you kind of expect them to win them, So no surprise there. They do win a control, which is big for them, and they did win one in Major 2 going towards the finals. Or not finals, sorry, but going into Major 2 weekend. They did win a control, which we thought was pretty big. 2 real on this one.
Thieves has Envoy.
Yeah, they do have Envoy, who is incredible at control. Control demon.
Yeah.
2 real had a 1.52 KD on this one. So he did turn up eventually. It was the third map, but he did turn up with 32 kills. I believe he only died 21 times, which is insane, especially for control. He did incredible. I mean, 1.52 KD is crazy. I think you said this after this game happened, that maybe he's like Envoy, where he might not be amazing at the respawns like hardpoint, but he is a control player. And to be fair, Vegas did need that. They needed someone for control because their control has been abysmal since the beginning of the season.
But I mean, I feel like we still haven't seen enough to say whether it was worth the change or not.
Yeah,
I guess we'll continue to.
Then on the last hard point, the entire team went positive and they won it 250 to 201. Obviously, it's a closer win than the Thieves beating them on the first hard point, which was a 120 point difference. 49 points. It's still a decent difference, not to take away from it. Obviously, they're not, wiping teams on hard point. But, the whole team went positive on this hard point, so there's really nothing bad to say. They knew what they were doing. They went into it with a game plan. I think they do this thing, and OpTic kind of does this thing too, where the first few maps, they're a little shaky, and then they kind of figure out why they're shaky, and they pick it up. Now, they did lose to Ultra in their next game this weekend. However, you look at the maps, it wasn't a crazy loss. It wasn't a wipe, you wouldn't say, even though it was a 3-1 loss, I believe. It was still pretty close, except for the first hard point, just like the one with LA Thieves.
I don't think, though, how do you go from beating Thieves to losing to Ultra? That to me doesn't make any sense at all.
I agree. It's weird because LA Thieves.
It shouldn't have happened.
They finished second last major, so it's a pretty big. I mean, look, we do say this a lot that sometimes these bigger, better teams, or quote unquote better, they do come into the Vegas matches or series, kind of underestimating them. And that could be a reason why Vegas beat Thieves, but at the same time, they did beat them. In 3 maps in a row. It wasn't
Yeah,
a
no, I
3-2
don't
win or
know what it
anything.
is.
Um, I think the other thing is with Ultra is one of those teams where when they turn it on, they go crazy, and then they have games where they kind of just are not there. Um, but this
Still
Vegas loss to
super weird to
Ultra,
see the inconsistency with
right,
Vegas.
right, yeah,
Doesn't make sense to me.
I will say I think people need to start finally. We're into Major 3 qualifiers, and I think people are still talking about Vegas as if it's Vanguard. I think it's time people start talking about them like they are a mid-table team. They are a team that can definitely make it to champs this year. Like they have a huge chance of making it to champs. Even if it's in losers bracket, I think they will make it. People need to start giving them more credit and more credit than they deserve. Especially Clayster. He's the oldest player in the league, and he's keeping up with everyone. He rarely
With Too
drops.
Real here,
Yeah, I know.
you go ahead. I'll say with Too Real here, I can't see them winning a major.
I do think Too Real will. I don't think Too Real will be a permanent change. I just don't think
I
he's the
don't know.
player
He's
that they
just
needed.
not a game changer.
Yeah, he's just not a game changer.
A waste of money.
If anything, I feel Pro Loot was the better choice, and everyone was shocked when it happened. I think Pro Loot was a better choice
Mm-hmm.
because Vegas so consistently go to Game 5, and you need
Mm-hmm.
if you're gonna go to Game 5 consistently, you need that guy that's gonna be good on SND. And Pro Loot is definitely an SND player. You needed him. I mean, I guess we'll see. Maybe they dropped him, right? He's not even benched.
I think they dropped him. I'm not 100% sure.
Because if he was on the bench, I could see them bringing him back. But I personally, I don't think Too Real is the person that they needed. They needed someone a little bit better. If you were gonna make a roster change, it should be an impactful one and not a almost trade for trade. Um. So we'll see. We'll see how Vegas does this upcoming weekend. I don't know who they're facing. Do you have that pulled up? Or this
They
weekend's
will
games?
be facing FaZe. So
FaZe. So,
tough game.
tough game for sure, especially considering, FaZe won both their games this weekend. So we'll see how they do against them. Moving on, we have Ravens. We'll make this one quick. They cannot stop losing. They went to a Game 5 this time, but they're continuing their losing streak. They are definitely the worst team in the league this season. They are this season's Paris Legion.
Paris, yeah, 100%. Not even worth talking about.
Yeah, not much we can say here. Ravens need to make a change, and the change that they did make, it did nothing. I would say hashtag free a sim, until it's backwards, baby. Moving on, Mutineers. Their changes did nothing to better them. Now they were one of the teams that made a pretty large, substantial roster change. In during this last roster mania, this most recent one. They went 0-3 against FaZe, 0-3 against NYSL. I mean, I don't know. Cap, we expect big things from Cap because you and me have always been admirers of Cap. I think he's a great player. He was amazing at Boston last season. We thought he was wrongfully dropped. He has a lot of
Yeah.
potential. And look, 2 losses is not terrible. I think they could turn it around. And
Yeah, but Mutineers to me is another team that's making pointless changes, and
I
all
agree.
it does is like throw off the dynamic. Like
I agree.
I can't see them consistently winning if they're just gonna keep making pointless changes.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of these teams, first off, I think some of these teams are making changes going into the thinking it's a 2-season game, and now we did get rumors that there's going to be a game at the end of the year. So this game might not be a 2-season game. So maybe stop making changes and try to, solidify a team for the last majors of the season so you can make it the champs. I think Cap can turn it around. I think, they need to really bring the best out in him. Maybe build a team around him. He's a player that can fry. He can be one of those
I
top
can't see
guys.
that happening.
But I as well cannot see that happening. So we'll see what Mutineers does. However, speaking of one of the teams they lost against, NYSL's back to winning. They beat Rocker 3-2. Mutineers obviously 3-0, and Hydra back into his frying ways, man. I mean, like Hydra for a few games, Kismet was the better player on the team, or not better player, but he was the kill player. He was getting all the kills on the team.
Yeah.
Um, and Hydra's back on top, 1.18 versus Rocker. It was the highest KD on the team, and then 1.62 versus Mutineers, which is insane. That's a very, very high KD. I mean, look, it was a low kill, to be fair. I think it was like 60 something kills to 20 something lives, or 30, close to 30 deaths or something like that. But it also was a 3-0 wipe, so they didn't have time for more kills. And I even think their control was a 3-0 win or 3-1. But it was a hard win. So NYSL looking good again. Definitely for me, still probably with FaZe best team in the league still. They had a little rough
Yeah, I
patch.
mean, I don't really know what happened in the last major. It was just
I think they just lost steam. It happens. It's I think it would have been hard to go back to back. But they're back to winning, and I could even see them pulling out another major win. It could happen.
Let's see. I think we said that last major, so
We did say that last.
We'll see
major.
if they can. We'll see if they can actually do something this major.
Which is funny because I was gonna say I could see them go back to winning another major, or even FaZe. I see them at the final both together. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
I think they keep up the form all the way till the major weekend.
Let's see.
Now, moving on to OpTic. First game with Ghosty. The main event right here. They beat Gorillas. It was a 3-2 win, however. It went to game 5. Now, I'm blurry on this series, but I did watch it, and it kind of felt messy to me. It felt like a lot of these players were kind of going rogue a lot. There was really no game plan on either team. While Hook and Shotzi did go positive, 1.21, 1.18 respectively. Like it still didn't feel like they had a team play. It kind of just felt like they went into these games thinking, let's just slay and try to win that way. And like we've said before, you can definitely win that way, but you're not going to win that way against slower teams that are a little bit more methodical in how they play. If you're not getting those kills because the teams aren't coming out, then you can't really win the series or the maps like that.
I mean, even in this series, like it barely worked because it still went to a game 5.
Yeah.
Like it was a close game regardless, and that's versus LAG. That's not really like a.
Exactly.
They're not really a team that people are like, "Oh, you gotta look out for LAG." They're like a mid team, so like.
Yeah.
To go game 5 against LAG is kind of.
If it had been a Thieves, NYSL, a FaZe, then you kind of like, wow, this team's here. But going against Gorillas and go to game 5, like you said, it's nothing special to me.
It's worrisome.
It didn't feel like we were seeing an insane new team, to be honest. They dropped Illy for Ghosty, and to be honest, I don't feel any difference. Dashy, however, did have the lowest KD so far since before they dropped him. And I don't think this has anything to do with Dashy. I do think this has more to do with the fact of how they were playing.
It's a team thing.
Yeah, it's more of a team thing. And to be fair, it is now that I think with Illy gone, I do think Dashy is now the flex player and Ghosty being the main, or it's either or. But we're definitely gonna see lower kill games from Dashy from here on out. Which isn't a bad thing. They do need AR players to stay in the back, which is something that they didn't really have when Illy was still on, because Illy was making really dumb plays sometimes and not fully staying in the back and when they needed him to.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
One thing I don't fully understand is how the dynamic between like Shotzi, Hugh, and Ghosty is gonna work, because I feel like they're all kind of similar players. So
I agree.
Like, do you really want to have 3 players that are like the exact same type of player?
Completely.
How's that gonna fit? I don't know. I can't see it working out in the long run, but I feel like it was only like a stepping stone to Pred.
Yeah, and some
Like
people
they're just
have
playing the
said that.
waiting game.
Some people have said that it does feel like it is just like a stepping stone. Like they were like, we need to kind of, um, I mean, they dropped him, but we need to drop Illy for a little bit and get someone else in the interim until they can have Pred. But now we'll see whether Ghosty or Hook stays when Pred comes, because you got to remember Ghosty is an AR player. And
Yeah.
so Hook would have to be the one to go unless they end up moving Hook into an AR role and have Pred Shotzi on the SMGs. But we'll also see if we are gonna go into a new game. Are we gonna need 2-2, or what kind of play style the team's gonna have? But still going back to this game, I think both teams needed to be more mindful of how they play. Like we said earlier, better teams will not be so forgiving as Gorillas was.
No.
OpTic cannot play the way they played against Gorillas. Against even Ultra, I think would punish them for how they played. But definitely against FaZe or NYSL or even Thieves, it's not gonna go well for them. Their first S&D and the control were honestly pretty bad. And a lot of the times it did feel like they were ego challenging. They were doing a lot of challenges that, you're playing your life in a situation that you didn't really have to. So I guess we'll see if they're able to correct that. They definitely need to work on their team play a little bit more. They need to have more strategies and not be so run and gun. To me
Also,
personally,
S&D.
Oh, their S&D was, their second
like
S&D was really good.
End. But I think if I remember correctly, Ghosty did atrocious.
Well, yeah, he actually said it in his in the post interview when he went to Scump's stream. Yeah. He's like, I gotta say, I was just not good on S&D. He was like, it was bad. It was not good. And obviously he's not an S&D player, but at the same time, he does need to pick it up a little bit because, to be fair, Illy most of the time was a good S&D player, unless his ego got to him.
Yeah, exactly. I think he got like a 0.25 KD on that last S&D.
Yeah,
which is like
that's awful.
Insane to me.
Listen, to me, OpTic not a top team yet. They are not a top 5 team or top 3 team like people want them to be. Do they have the capability? Yes, especially with the way Dashy and Hook have been playing, 100%. But they need work. I would say a lot of work. We'll see how they play this upcoming weekend. Fingers crossed they figure it out. Do you know who they're
Ultra
playing?
And then they're playing Rocker.
Oh, okay.
I could see them losing either one.
Yeah. So these are.
I feel that Rocker one.
I was gonna say because they lost to Rocker at Major 2, correct? Rocker was the team that got them out, or who was it?
Was it
Thieves? It was Thieves. Thieves knocked them out. Sorry, Thieves knocked them out. I think Rocker knocked them into losers, right?
I can't remember, but they have lost to Rocker.
So look, I think next weekend's gonna be the real test. How is this team gonna look? Gorillas was not really much of a test. It was more of a play, kind of like warm up type thing.
They got 3-0'd versus Rocker.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it was.
It's a real test.
So this coming week is gonna be a real test. Playing against Ultra, a super fast paced team. And then, playing against Rocker, a team that is a little bit more slow paced, a little bit more methodical in how they play. So, and a team that they've lost to before. So, we'll see how OpTic does going into this weekend. Like I said, for me, not a top team still. High hope. High hope. But,
it's really looking like FaZe about to be the top team. Just because they're not making crazy roster changes every.
They're not.
10
and
days.
To be fair, NYSL is not either. NYSL has not made a single change at the beginning. And look
exactly.
how both of these teams are, on top. So we'll see. I don't know if you have any other points to add before we get out of here. No? All right. Well,
it seems like most of the changes have been horrible.
Yeah. Well, guys,
I gotta say,
let us know down below. What change do you think was the worst out of this roster mania? What roster change did you think this is the worst one? And you might have been proven right. Let us know down below in the comments. And don't forget to also like and share the video and hit subscribe, guys. We're almost at 69 subscribers. Please, just one more. And until next time, peace.
Peace.